that's 4 lots of 8. So since both my melodies are 8 bars long, I could have an 8-bar introduction, present the 2 melodies and have an 8-bar conclusion, or I could have a shorter introduction, present a melody, have a little middle bridge section, present the next melody and then have an ending bit. The other thing I need to decide is who's actually going to play these melodies, because I've only got 2 instruments. So I think that I'm going to make melody 1, which is more relaxed, played by the violin, and melody 2, which is more sort of exciting, played by the piano. I'm actually tempted to just begin with part of melody 1, maybe just this much, or maybe this much but without that middle bit. So I'm just going to copy it across to my new thing, and I think I'll start with piano. And I think I'll get rid of this bit just to be more subtle. So that's 4 bars worth. Now let me think. I could repeat it down the octave. That's possibly slightly too bare, although I quite like it. But I'm thinking maybe some sort of little chord at that location with some arpeggiation. So if I go back and look at some of my ideas, these were all violin and viola ideas, but I could steal this one that was originally a violin drone from melody 2 and just put that in the bottom of the piano part. Just be careful that the parts don't cross. So you'll notice that this is reasonably repetitive, yeah? And I've got 7 bars, 8 bars. So that takes me sort of up to the end of the introduction. Still a little bit bare, isn't it? I almost feel like there should still be something somewhere in there. But still, that's good enough to start with. Now, could I use this entire thing as my ending section? I possibly could. Do I definitely want to? I'm not sure yet. This is just my first draft of the final structure. Now I'm thinking I want to put in my melody 1. This whole thing, popping over here and placing it in there. And I have to choose what sort of accompaniment is going to go there. And I also sort of have to decide whether or not I want the violin to play the whole melody or if I'm going to give some of the melody to the piano. I'm not quite sure yet. And I think I might go and get my melody 2. And because that's so much more sort of, epic sounding, I think I'm going to give it to the piano. So they're sort of sharing the melody business. And in fact, I might even put it down low, maybe even in octaves, yeah? Sort of make a big contrast. I'd still need something for the violin to do. I'm starting to think my tempo's a little bit too slow. I'm pressing save. I'm still on version 1. I've got my 2 melodies in. I've got something at the beginning and the end, but I don't have any accompaniment for melody 1 and I don't have any accompaniment for melody 2. So I want to look back at my plans and see what the violin could be doing. It could be doing that. It could play this melody in canon, which might be quite nice. It could play this in augmented canon, which I think would be quite nice. And so you can see why it's good to keep the versions so that you can easily go and get them. Could I use any of that I just used then as a baseline for this? Could I use something that I was already using, like this, as accompaniment for this? Probably not, because it's doubling the melody a little bit too much, but I could use the bottom bit maybe. Maybe I could use some drone chords in the top. Could I do that twice? I could. Do I want to do it twice? So this is this sort of just thinking and listening, thinking back to what you've already made and deciding whether you want to put anything in there. Yeah, I might take that little bit and put it here as a little canon. But remember one of my earlier videos, it's not a good idea to have too much rhythmic similarity when there's a melody and an accompaniment. So this is a bit too busy compared to this. So I might just turn that back into a crotchet just to simplify it. Could the left hand of the piano be doing something as well? Yes, it could. Will that sound nice? I don't really know. Have I finished my assignment? to a passing level, probably. Could I spend another few hours on it? Definitely yes. Let's have a listen to the whole thing and see how we're going. And at this point I'm going to start a new version and just call it draft 1. I'm thinking back to my haiku. The cool breeze, twisted and crooked, then came here. Does that sound like a breeze? This sounds a little bit more twisted and crooked, doesn't it? Okay, that's quite nice. I can see a few little issues. One is I felt like there needs to be a fragment or two somewhere in here in the violin part, and I felt that when this forte section came in it was a bit of a shock. I almost felt like this started a bit late, or there should have been something in there, and this is really the final stage where you just slightly improve the draft.